Let's bring in Alexander Crowther, a senior fellow at the Centre for European Policy and Analysis. He joins us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much for talking to us. Reports several NATO and European Union members are considering sending soldiers, as we mentioned just a moment ago, to Ukraine on a bilateral basis. Why is this being considered, and how much would that help Ukraine's war effort?
So the reason that individual countries are thinking about this is because the Ukrainians are having a hard time. The Russians prefer a terror and attrition form of warfare. And so the Ukrainians, like the Russians, are starting to run out of soldiers. And so anything that you can have somebody else doing frees up a Ukrainian to go serve at the front. But it's calling it EU and NATO members are considering this is kind of a distraction, right? It's an information operation. It's like saying because Canada went to Haiti in 2004 to help keep the peace, a NATO member went to Haiti.
I did want to ask you, the fact that NATO leaders, including President Biden, have underlined that the Western military alliance wants to avoid a direct conflict with Russia, is there not a danger that this sort of move could lead to a global war?
If NATO got aggressive with Russia, absolutely could cause major problems. But it's not in the NATO charter. The NATO charter is a self-defense organization. And unfortunately for Ukraine, they are not members of NATO. So NATO has no business defending Ukraine or attacking Russians in Ukraine. NATO will do things on behalf of, for instance, the UN Security Council when they went to Libya in 2011. But both the Chinese and the Russians have a veto in the UN Security Council. So they're never going to tell NATO to go to Ukraine. So NATO, as an organization, will assist Ukraine where possible with like training and things like that, but NATO will stay out of Ukraine.
And Fico, he's long opposed military supplies to Ukraine. He's taken a position seen by some critics as pro-Russian. Why has the Slovak Prime Minister leaked this information ahead of European leaders meeting in Paris?
Because it's a classic information operation. Like Orban, he likes Putin and supports the Russian perspective. And so by specifically linking NATO and European Union to soldiers from a country or two deploying to Ukraine, he's seeking to delegitimize the entire move. And so it's a very intelligent approach to an information operation. It's a form of Russian political warfare. And so he's seeking to shape the information environment in the meeting of European leaders that's happening today.
And how much concern do you think there is at the moment, given the escalation in Russian aggression over the past few weeks in Ukraine?
People are very worried about what's going on in Ukraine because the winter is ending and the dry season is around the corner. And so the Russians will be able to make their superiority in numbers of people and armored vehicles apparent. They'll be able to use them to their advantage. So people are definitely getting worried. And so that's why people are trying to figure out how to a new approach on how to support the Ukrainians, which might include putting people into like logistics jobs or something like that in Lviv or west of Kyiv to free up Ukrainian soldiers to go to the front.
Alexander, thank you very much for that. Alexander Crowther, live for us from Washington, D.C.